Have you heard about the Iceman from the Copper Age? It sounds incredible, but yes, I'm talking about Ötzi, the world's oldest wet mummy, naturally preserved in ice with his unique clothes and equipment. This astonishing discovery has sparked countless breakthroughs in archaeology, medical science, genetics, and many other fields. But wait, there's more. Curious? Scientists just sequenced the DNA of Ötzi the Iceman. What was found shocked the world. Don't worry, we've got the latest scoop on this groundbreaking discovery. So, join us on this exciting journey to unveil the ancient secrets hidden in the DNA of the Iceman. You won't want to miss this. The day September 19, 1991 became one of the most significant days in human history when a German couple, Erika and Helmut Simon, hiked across the Niederjorgferner Glacier and made a truly sensational discovery. Of course, like any of us, they also did not realize the magnitude of their find at the time. They literally stumbled upon a corpse and initially assumed it was a modern mountain climber who had suffered an accident. However, as it turned out later, the mummified corpse had been encased in ice for more than 5,300 years. This ancient figure, later named Ötzi the Iceman, was rescued, thus gaining a second life as one of the oldest and best preserved mummies in the world. But how did anyone come to know his name, and who was he? Why did a segment of highly intellectual people become obsessed with uncovering new discoveries through his possessions? Have patience, we will answer it all. Since the mummy was found in the Ötztal Alps, an Austrian journalist, Karl Wendel, named him Ötzi, a name that has since been inscribed into contemporary history. Initially, the discovery was misleading. The climbers who stumbled upon Ötzi thought he was a modern hiker, and early researchers dismissed him as a primitive shepherd. However, as investigations progressed, a much more sophisticated picture of Ötzi emerged. The world-famous Iceman was about 48 years old, approximately 160 centimeters tall, and weighed 50 kilograms during his lifetime. Researchers believe he had shoulder-length, dark, wavy hair and a beard. His skin was likely fairly tanned, reflecting his time spent outdoors. But this was just the beginning of his story. As soon as archaeologists discovered Ötzi's true age, a multitude of scientists, doctors, criminologists, and experts from many other disciplines invested immense effort into studying him. The curiosity surrounding Ötzi only grew, leading to groundbreaking research and discoveries. So, curious minds, what does Ötzi reveal through his DNA to the scientists? Stay tuned as we disclose the facts. Early discoveries and misconceptions. The initial studies of Ötzi's remains revealed some surprising details. In 2012, researchers published a draft version of his genome, which was one of the first ancient genomes ever sequenced. This analysis suggested that Ötzi had pale skin, brown eyes, and ancestry from steppe-herding people, sometimes known as Yamnaya, who only arrived in Europe centuries after his death. Now, this raised many questions and led to further research. Soon it was found that the old genome was heavily contaminated with modern people's DNA. Researchers reported in Cell Genomics on August 16 that the new analysis revealed that the steppe ancestry is completely gone. As ancient DNA technology advanced, researchers revisited Ötzi's genetic material, leading to more accurate and astonishing findings. Wondering what they were? In a study published in 2021, scientists sequenced high-quality DNA from Ötzi's pelvis and made some startling discoveries. Contrary to previous reconstructions, which depicted Ötzi as a pale-skinned man with a full head of hair and beard, the new analysis revealed that Ötzi had dark skin, dark eyes, and was likely bald. This finding looks surprising, but in reality, it aligns with the understanding that early European farmers had darker skin due to their diet and climate, which changed over time as populations adapted to different environmental conditions. Let's take a look at his diet and lifestyle, which will clear the fog. Genes conferring light skin tones didn't become prevalent until 4,000 to 3,000 years ago, when early farmers started eating plant-based diets and didn't get as much vitamin D as hunter-gatherers did from consuming fish and meat. On a detailed analysis of Ötzi's stomach contents, it was revealed that he consumed a diet rich in meat, including ibex and deer. This dietary habit aligns with the finding that he had darker skin, thus the conclusion was quite clear. Continuing research on Ötzi's DNA provided even more insights. Scientists found that about 90% of Ötzi's genetic heritage comes from Neolithic farmers, an unusually high amount compared with other Copper Age remains. Ötzi had a high level of Anatolian farmer ancestry and very little European hunter-gatherer DNA. This suggests that his lineage was genetically isolated from other European populations of the time. Moreover, it was confirmed that Ötzi had significantly more melanin in his skin than previously thought, making him darker skinned than modern Sicilians. Did you know? People that lived in Europe between 40,000 years ago and 8,000 years ago were as dark as people in Africa, which makes a lot of sense because Africa is where humans came from. We have always imagined that Europeans became light-skinned much faster, but now it seems that this actually happened quite late in human history. And then another notion commenting on his look says, the Ötzi we know has hair down to his shoulders, but new results show as a mature man, he most likely had advanced hair loss. Then, the question that throbs our minds is, how did the researchers come up with the long hair in the first place? In reality, only a few individual hairs were originally found with Ötzi, and it was never investigated whether they really came from him or which type of hairs they were. They could have been from his beard. Generally, when corpses lie for such a long time in glaciers or water, their hair falls out because the uppermost epidermis is lost. This was why it was originally thought that there were no hairs on Ötzi. It was assumed they had fallen out and been washed away, but then they had been there to start with. This led to the first reconstruction of the Iceman, showing him with lots of hair on his head. Now, this image is what people had of him, and it continued to remain the same. No one could imagine that he was bald or, at the very least, had advanced hair loss. So yes, Ötzi, as the most famous early European human, is well suited to convey this important message. The fact that Ötzi is 92% Anatolian in his ancestry may come as a surprise to many. The same applies to the new findings on pigmentation. For many people, skin color is even more important than origin. There is this black and white thinking by some people that categorize humans by the color of their skin. It is therefore important to raise awareness of the fact that, even in Europe, people have only recently become less pigmented, and that subdividing human diversity by pigmentation makes no sense. One of the most intriguing aspects of Ötzi's discovery is how our perceptions and knowledge about him have evolved over time. The initial image of a primitive shepherd has been replaced by that of a sophisticated individual with a rich ancestry and a complex lifestyle. Despite the advancements in technology and research, Ötzi continues to hold many secrets, prompting ongoing studies and new discoveries. This story is a testament to the power of scientific inquiry and ever-evolving nature and knowledge. As Albert Sink, head of the Institute for Mummy Studies, notes, I'm often asked if, after 33 years of Iceman research, shouldn't everything be known? That's not the case. I think there will always be new doors opening for research. The Iceman has living relatives. Next comes another shocking revelation. The Iceman has living relatives. How is this possible? Who are they? Where did one find them? All these questions instantly rush to our minds. Don't worry, we are here to answer it all. Thanks to the study of new DNA, we've discovered living links to the Iceman. Are you excited to know about his relatives? Then stay tuned as we unfold the surprising revelations made by this study. All the credit goes to the gene researchers who, while looking at unusual markers on the Iceman's male sex chromosome, found at least 19 genetic relatives of Ötzi in Austria's Tyrol region. That's a good number, don't you think? But the process wasn't an easy one. This match was made from samples of 3,700 anonymous blood donors in a study led by Walter Parson at Innsbruck Medical University. Sharing a rare mutation known as GL91, it was discovered that the Iceman and those 19 share a common ancestor who may have lived 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. Imagine the excitement in the lab when these matches were found. It's like finding a missing piece of a giant historical puzzle. This discovery not only provides a direct link to Ötzi's lineage, but also offers a unique glimpse into the movement and lifestyle of ancient populations. This finding also supports previous research suggesting that Ötzi and his ancestors were part of farming communities. The study used Y chromosome markers, which are passed from father to son, to trace the Neolithic migrations that brought farming to Europe via the Alps. Ötzi belonged to a Y chromosome group called haplogroup G, which, like farming, has its roots in the Middle East. The study's overall results fit the idea that the changes of the Neolithic Revolution spurred people westward into the Tyrol region. It's fascinating to think that the descendants of these ancient farmers are still living in the same area today. It brings a sense of continuity, showing how deeply rooted human history is in specific regions. However, it's important to note that Ötzi's distant relatives might not be a direct reflection of him, either physically or in their lifestyle. They likely don't resemble the Iceman, nor do they necessarily share his taste for simple grain porridge or his survival skills. Modern lifestyles and diets have changed drastically since Ötzi's time, but the genetic connection remains a significant link to our past. The discovery of Ötzi's living relatives adds another layer to our understanding of the Iceman's history. From being found frozen in the Alps to now having a genetic link to people living today, Ötzi's tale continues to captivate and surprise us. It's incredible to think about how this genetic legacy has persisted through millennia, surviving countless generations and vast changes in human civilization. As researchers continue to explore his DNA and the DNA of his descendants, who knows what other secrets might be uncovered? Each new discovery about Ötzi opens up more questions and avenues for exploration. As we continue to delve into his past, we not only learn more about him, but also about the story of human civilization itself. Each revelation brings us closer to understanding the complex web of our ancestry and the remarkable journey of humanity through time. Another surprise is absolutely ready for you. Would you believe me if I told you this Iceman had a total of 61 tattoos? Yes, it's not a joke. These consist of 19 groups of black lines ranging from 1 to 3 millimeters in width and 7 to 40 millimeters in length. No, they're not the Gen Z tattoos you might be thinking of. These tattoos include groups of parallel lines running along the length of his body on both sides of the lumbar spine, as well as the cruciform mark behind his right knee and on his right ankle, and parallel lines around his left wrist. The most markings were found on his legs, which together exhibit 12 groups of lines. Imagine the painstaking process behind these tattoos. A microscopic examination revealed they were created from pigment made from fireplace ash or soot, rubbed into small cuts or punctures. Studies suggest that Ötzi was repeatedly tattooed in the same locations, as the majority of them are quite dark. Why would a man from the Copper Age undergo such a procedure? Radiological examinations of Ötzi's bones showed age-conditioned or strain-induced degeneration corresponding to many tattooed areas. These included osteochondrosis and slight spondylosis in the lumbar spine, and wear and tear degeneration in the knee and ankle joints. It's speculated that these tattoos may have been part of pain relief treatments similar to acupressure or acupuncture. Although Ötzi lived at least 2,000 years before their earliest known use in China, 9 of the 19 groups of his tattoos are located near or directly on acupuncture points used today. Most of the other tattoos are on meridians and other acupunctural regions and over arthritic joints. Ötzi's abdominal tattoos may have even alleviated the intestinal pain caused by whipworm, which he is believed to have had. Here's a shocking twist. For a long time, Ötzi was thought to be the oldest tattooed mummy ever discovered. However, in 2018, tattoos were found on nearly contemporaneous Egyptian mummies, adding another layer to our understanding of ancient body art. Many of Ötzi's tattoos originally went unnoticed, as they are difficult to see with the naked eye. In 2015, researchers photographed the body using non-invasive multispectral techniques, capturing images on different light wavelengths imperceptible to humans, revealing the remainder of his tattoos. Ötzi's story is a bridge between ancient practices and modern science, shedding light on the life and health of people thousands of years ago. His tattoos are not just body art, but historical records, offering a unique glimpse into the ancient world and the early human understanding of pain management. Isn't it fascinating? Clothing. Despite the wealth of knowledge gained from studying his frozen body, there are still many mysteries surrounding him. One such mystery involves the species of animals that provided the hides for Ötzi's clothing. Traditional DNA analysis techniques have struggled to identify these species due to the degradation of hair and leather samples after millennia of being frozen. However, recent advancements in DNA analysis methods have allowed scientists to unlock new information about Ötzi and his attire. Their findings are detailed in a study published in the journal Scientific Reports. Just based on the hair or just based on the type of leather, it's not easy to sometimes come down to the species level, says microbiologist Frank Meixner, one of the study's authors. It was clear to have a little bit more insight, we had to go for the DNA. Meixner and his colleagues at the European Academy of Bolzano utilized a form of DNA analysis that focuses on markers found in mitochondrial DNA. While most DNA is stored in chromosomes within the cell nucleus, mitochondria contain a small piece of their own DNA. This mitochondrial DNA, although a tiny fraction of the total genome, provided enough information for the scientists to identify several animals that contributed to Ötzi's wardrobe. The analysis revealed that Ötzi's shoes were made from cattle leather, chosen likely for its durability compared to other materials. His black and white striped coat, on the other hand, was crafted from sheep leather, which would have offered the most warmth among the available types of leather. Ötzi's attire also included items made from non-domesticated animals, such as a deerskin quiver and a bearskin hat. These findings indicate that the different materials were selected with specific purposes in mind and that repairs to the clothing were made using the same types of materials rather than any available leather. It's not chaotic, Meixner explains. It's really ordered. There's structure. There's fashion in my eyes. Moreover, the discovery that Ötzi's clothing was repaired with the same type of leather rather than any available material suggests a level of craftsmanship and knowledge about the properties of different leathers. This indicates that Ötzi and his people had a sophisticated understanding of their environment and the resources it provided. This breakthrough in DNA analysis has not only provided a clearer picture of Ötzi's life and times, but also demonstrated the potential for further discoveries. Ötzi as a medical mess. Researchers have examined every aspect of his remains, from his stomach and bowels to his teeth, and now, thanks to an international team that has sequenced his entire genome, we have even more insights into the life and health of this ancient man. What has emerged is a picture of Ötzi as a medical mess, plagued by multiple health issues that paint a vivid picture of the challenges faced by ancient humans. Initial examinations of Ötzi reveal he suffered from severe arteriosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries. This condition is surprising given that Ötzi was a hunter-gatherer who presumably had a healthy lifestyle, free from modern risk factors like being overweight, lack of exercise, and smoking or drinking. However, the new genome analysis shows that Ötzi had a genetic predisposition to arteriosclerosis. This finding challenges our current understanding of the disease and suggests that genetic factors may play a more significant role than previously thought. This new data suggests that we might be less able to prevent arteriosclerosis than we believed, notes cardiologist and mummy expert Gregory Thomas of the University of California, Irvine. Further genetic analysis has provided more details about Ötzi's ancestry. His genetic profile shows that he is most closely related to small populations currently living in Sardinia and Corsica, as well as remote areas of Georgia and Russia. Geneticist Angela Greffin of the Institute for Mummies and the Iceman in Bolzano, Italy, explains while this doesn't mean Ötzi was Sardinian or Corsican, it indicates that these populations are the closest living genetic matches to the ancient hunter-gatherers who migrated into Europe. The whole genome sequencing has also helped flesh out our picture of Ötzi as a person. Researchers now know that he had type O blood, and, like most Neolithic Europeans, he was lactose intolerant. These details contribute to our understanding of the traits and daily challenges faced by people in Ötzi's time. Further probing into Ötzi's remains uncovered even more unsettling details. His intestines contained the eggs of parasitic worms, indicating that he suffered from intestinal parasites, a common affliction in ancient times due to poor hygiene and lack of medical knowledge. Additionally, one of the more startling discoveries from genome sequencing is that Ötzi was the first known carrier of Lyme disease. The sequencing revealed genes from Borrelia burgdorferi bacterium, the pathogen that causes Lyme disease. While scientists cannot determine if Lyme disease made Ötzi sick during his lifetime, finding 60% of a B. burgdorferi genome in a Neolithic carrier shows that this disease has plagued humans for thousands of years. But depending on the research other scientists are doing over the next few years, we could be gaining a lot more insights from Ötzi's genome. The genetic tests also provided insights into Ötzi's maternal lineage. Remarkably, he was the first person ever discovered to belong to a previously unknown subcategory of the K haplogroup. A haplogroup can indicate which geographical areas or continents were settled by early humans. The K haplogroup, rare among Europeans, suggests that Ötzi's mother's family likely came from the south of the Alps or the Ötztal region to the north. The genetic revelations about Ötzi are not just fascinating footnotes, they provide critical insights into Neolithic life and health. Mummy expert Frank Rulli of the University of Zurich in Switzerland notes, "Of course Ötzi is only one individual, but he's a very well-preserved, well-described individual whom we have a lot of additional information about already, so this is an important step." In addition to his arteriosclerosis and Lyme disease, earlier studies have shown that Ötzi suffered from a host of other medical issues. Gallstones, another common ailment, were found in Ötzi's gallbladder. These tiny, painful stones form from hardened deposits of digestive fluid and can cause severe abdominal pain. Alongside this, a nasty growth on his little toe hinted at a bout of frostbite, likely suffered during his treks through the icy Alps. Each health issue uncovered added another layer to the story of Ötzi's life, revealing the daily struggles he faced. Despite these chronic conditions, it was a sudden blow to the head that proved fatal to Ötzi. Although he had a fresh arrow wound in his shoulder, it was the head injury that ultimately caused his death. This discovery adds a dramatic and violent twist to the tale of Ötzi's final moments. But hold on, we have even more to uncover about the mystery of his death. Stay tuned, the revelations are just around the corner. Moreover, as we all know, Ötzi's body was covered in tattoos, which researchers believe may have been part of an ancient therapeutic practice. These tattoos were found near joints and other areas where Ötzi might have experienced pain, hinting at a form of acupuncture or similar pain relief treatment. These new findings not only unravel more of his personal story, but also enhance our understanding of human history and prehistoric life. So, without further ado, let's embark on the next shocking fact. The discovery of high levels of arsenic in Ötzi's system was particularly alarming. This toxic element likely entered his body through exposure to metal ores and copper extraction processes, as Ötzi was part of a culture that was among the first to develop metalworking techniques. Chronic arsenic poisoning could have caused a range of health problems, including skin lesions, digestive issues, and neurological symptoms. Ötzi's health issues provide a stark reminder of the harsh realities of ancient life. Despite his relatively advanced age for the time, estimated to be around 45 years old, Ötzi's body was marked by the wear and tear of a life spent in the mountains. Blood of 4 individuals. Now, if you still believe the myth that Ötzi had just an agricultural background, let me warn you, it's absolutely untrue. We have more to reveal and wake you up to reality. In 2003, Dr. Tom Loy from Queensland University and his team analyzed DNA from Ötzi's tools and clothing, revealing clues about his final days. They found blood from 4 different people on Ötzi's possessions, hinting at a fierce battle. One arrowhead had blood from 2 people, suggesting that Ötzi had shot someone, retrieved the arrow, and then used it again. His knife had blood from a 3rd person, and his coat had blood from a 4th. Who were these people, and what led to this deadly encounter? Dr. Loy speculated that Ötzi and his companion were involved in a border skirmish, common in those turbulent times. Armed with his flint dagger and arrows, Ötzi fought bravely. He managed to wound or kill 3 adversaries, but suffered a severe cut on his hand and 3 broken ribs. Ötzi and his companion, likely injured too, fled into the mountains. The companion, trying to save him, attempted to pull an arrow out of Ötzi's back, but the arrowhead broke, remaining lodged in his body. This wound proved fatal, and Ötzi died in the snow. The fate of his companion remains unknown. Did he escape or also succumb to the harsh conditions? The South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology, where Ötzi now rests, continues to search for answers. Expeditions are planned to explore melting ice fields, which may reveal more clues about Ötzi's life and death. Ötzi's story is a testament to the resilience and bravery of our ancestors. It's a tale not just of a man who met a violent end, but of a life filled with struggle and survival in a harsh world. And wait, did you know? Initially, the Iceman was believed to have died from exhaustion and starvation after a fierce chase, but new scientific discoveries painted a different, even more intriguing picture of his final moments. For years, researchers thought Ötzi succumbed to injuries after a violent confrontation. A deep arrow wound on his shoulder and a fatal blow to his head seemed to tell the story of a man who fought desperately but ultimately lost. Cuts, bruises, and injuries, both pre- and post-mortem, alongside the analysis of 4 different blood types on Ötzi and his artifacts, suggested he had killed 2 of his pursuers before being overwhelmed by the rest. But a more detailed scan revealed startling new evidence. What scientists initially mistook for Ötzi's empty stomach was actually part of his colon. His stomach, pushed upwards under his ribs while on the ice, was found to be full of ibex meat. This finding disproved the earlier theory of a dramatic chase and starvation. Instead, it showed Ötzi had eaten a large meal not more than an hour before his death. Additionally, the presence of a blood-clotting protein called fibrin on Ötzi's arrow wound, detected using nanotechnology, proved that he died quickly after being shot. Fibrin vanishes quickly in a working body, so its presence indicates a rapid death rather than days of survival after the injury. With these revelations, scientists now believe that Ötzi was ambushed shortly after his meal. The exact cause of death remains the blow to the head, though it is unclear whether this injury came from being struck or from falling after being shot by the arrow. But who were these pursuers, and why did they target Ötzi? One possible scenario is that Ötzi was involved in a territorial dispute or a personal dispute. His pursuers, driven by anger or a need for retribution, tracked him to the glacier. In a swift and brutal attack, they trapped him, shooting him with an arrow. As he fell, one of them delivered a fatal blow to his head, ensuring he would not survive. The blood found on Ötzi and his tools tells a tale of fierce resistance. Despite being outnumbered and trapped, he fought back valiantly, wounding or killing 2 of his attackers. But weakened and cornered, he ultimately succumbed to the relentless assault. Ötzi's final moments were not those of a man running in fear, but of one who stood his ground against overwhelming odds. His story, preserved in the ice for millennia, continues to captivate and intrigue, offering a glimpse into the harsh and often violent world of our ancestors. But yes, no one can deny that the sequencing of Ötzi's DNA has truly shocked the world. revealing a story far richer and more intricate than we ever imagined. As research progresses, who knows what other secrets this frozen mummy will unveil. If you found this exploration of Ötzi's mysterious epic intriguing, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more astonishing revelations as we continue to uncover the incredible life of Ötzi the Iceman.